All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is a Monday. Happy Monday to everyone out there. December 23rd. We have a 14-game NBA slate to dive into in today's video because there's no games tomorrow, so we got a bunch to dive into today. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment. That'll take you to my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, that'll be down in the pinned comment, absolutely free. In terms of yesterday, I think I'm owed the womp womp. 0-2 day. It's been a while since we've had a bad NBA day. We cleaned up in the NFL, so I guess I'm not like hurting in the pockets. But overall, I really can't even be all that mad at these two ones. We had the Raptors team total under 109.5, and the Pacers team total under 120.5. Raptors scored 110, Pacers scored 122. So it's like one bounce goes one other way. We could be looking at a winning night. Like, whatever. I can't get too down on this. 2 half-unit losses there. Does it stink? Does it leave a bad taste in my mouth? Am I coming for blood today with a 14-game NBA slate? Yes. But I'm not going to get too down on an 0-2 night. Same thing with the ride of the day here. Debo, 3 in a row. This was his attempt, and the third one does not cash. Now, I will say, I just dropped the womp womp by myself, so we don't need to drop the womp womp again. Debo did hit 2 plus money plays for us in a row prior to this, so unfortunately this one doesn't come through, but technically if you've been riding with the ride of the day, it was a profitable little run there. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it's simple. Just use that hashtag ride of the day in the comments or ROTD. Give me your favorite play today. It's got to be inside the odds of -150. I jump on board with one person's play each and every day. Give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. Also shout you out over on my X/Twitter, which just popped up right here if you do want to follow me there. And you guys shout out win or loss. If you win, we continue to roll with your play until you do lose. If you do lose, you got to talk about it. You still get the shout out, but it's in front of everyone that you did catch an L. But what do you say we dive into this slate, guys? Go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. Buckle up. We got 14 games to dive into. There will be some games in which I blow through, some games I spend more time on. That's just the nature of the beast when we have this many games. But let's start it off here. Cleveland taking on Utah. Cleveland 14.5-point favorites. I think I've seen this down to 14 in some places, so keep that in mind. Total sitting at 232.5. Cleveland's obviously one of the best teams in the league. They've won 8 of their last 10. They've covered in 7 of their last 10. Going up against Utah, who though they have won 2 straight games, I'll give them that credit. It was against Detroit and Brooklyn. Those are just 2 of their 3 wins over their last 10 games here, so can't give them too much credit. We haven't seen this matchup yet this year, but I still do think that this is going to be a Cleveland spot. Injury-wise, doesn't look like they're dealing with anything major. Keontae George on the Utah side of things listed as questionable. This is a Cleveland team that can score inside and from the perimeter. Utah, not the best defensive team overall. In fact, from a defensive efficiency standpoint, 30th in the league, so dead last. Give me Cleveland here, maybe a consideration of their team total over or a Utah team total under. This Utah team can get out and run, but this is a really, really good Cleveland defense, and Utah's going to want to, try to get into the paint. Cleveland's very good at defending the paint, and even if they do decide to try and shoot the 3 ball, which Utah's not all that phenomenal at, right? Cleveland's good on the perimeter, so maybe the way that we kind of massage the number, instead of laying 14.5 points or 14 points, maybe we look at like a Utah team total under. That could be something of consideration for me. That's probably how I'd play the total as well, either Cleveland team total over or Utah team total under. I tell you guys all the time, this is one of those 2 ships passing in the night type game. I think Cleveland could have a good offensive game, so I'm afraid of taking a game total under, right? And I think Utah could struggle to score, so I'm kind of afraid of them picking up the slack or picking up whatever slack they need to pick up to be able to, go out there and contribute to an over. So I probably split this into a Cleveland team total over and a Utah team total under. Both of those I don't necessarily mind. Now, from a player prop perspective, I would target the perimeter for Cleveland. So that means Garland or Donovan Mitchell, whether you're looking at points or 3-pointers made. I think that those could be good looks. We've seen Utah struggle to defend the 3 all year long against the point guard over the last 7 days or last 7 games, dead last in 3-pointers allowed, against the shooting guard 4th most. So yeah, I think it could be an easy spot to target some perimeter play. Just know you might not be getting, 4 quarters of these guys. What if this is a blowout, right? I will say no games tomorrow, that type of thing. Maybe that looks a little bit better, and we do see some extra minutes out of these guys. They're not playing on Christmas, so that's a good news type of thing. But overall, again, it is a 14.5-point spread. Could be National Blowout Association. All right, next up, we have Philadelphia taking on San Antonio. I think this could be a good one. I'm actually surprised to see Philly as 5.5-point favorites. I don't necessarily mind Philly in this spot, but I will say 5.5 seems like it's a little bit too much to me. So I am going to lean towards the Spurs. No McCain for Philly. We have Embiid listed in the lineup. Obviously, you got to, make sure that he's playing. Even if he's listed as expected, we got to see the confirmed lineup before trusting that, right? And the Spurs should be relatively healthy overall. Like I said, I think this is going to be a close game, but I do think 5.5 points is just a little bit too much. If this was 2.5, 3, I actually might be looking at the home team in Philadelphia. I mean, their only loss here in the last 3 games was against Cleveland. Now, I could say the other 2 wins were against Charlotte, so yeah, take that with a grain of salt. But overall, I think both of these teams are going to try and get to the paint. Over the last 10 games, you have the 7th highest field goal frequency team in the restricted area in Philadelphia, and the 5th highest in terms of San Antonio. The one thing that makes me, again, lean towards San Antonio here is that San Antonio is a little bit more defensive sound down in the paint. So in the last 10 games here, Philadelphia, restricted area, over a 70% field goal percentage against, compared to San Antonio's just over 65%. From a season-long perspective, points in the paint, Philadelphia ranks 18th compared to San Antonio's top 10 at 10. So that's the distinguishing factor. Again, if this wasn't 5.5, though, I'd start thinking about it, because I do think, that Philadelphia can stop they can guard the perimeter well, which is where San Antonio has been shooting a decent amount from as well, and that type of thing. But it's just way too many points to be laying for Philadelphia. So I will lean towards San Antonio. I think it's going to be a close game. I don't know if I get there myself, because again, maybe I'm higher on this Philly team right now than most, but I think the Philly definitely matches up fairly well, other than right in their restricted area there. But overall, I will lean towards the Spurs. In terms of what we have from a total here, I could see some buckets coming, all right? So I'm going to lean towards the over. Again, I hate to be on the fence and say like this, but this is a spot in which I could see someone being like, yeah, Philadelphia, I take it, even though I'm looking at the Spurs, right? I could also see someone being like, well, both of these teams can play good defense. Let's lean towards another, especially given the fact that Philadelphia's defense has actually looked fairly good. Now they played Charlotte a lot recently, right? So yes, in their last 3 games, it's going to look like they've been stopping people. San Antonio's defense looked good, but they played Portland last game. So that's kind of why I'm fading the idea of the under. I think that both these teams, they're better offenses than they've seen recently. So give me the over in this spot. And no real player props as of right now. Charlotte taking on Houston. So Houston coming off of a game yesterday in which, yes, we got that one wrong. We had them against Toronto. I liked Houston in the game, but we thought that they would win by a lot more than 4, right? And we thought that they'd take the thumb and squish Toronto, which they kind of did. It was a 109.5 number. We took under 109.5, and Toronto scores 110. So I guess somewhat of what we said yesterday was right, but overall, I thought Houston would probably win that game by double digits. They did not. Now they're on the road in Charlotte, Charlotte is a better team at home than they are on the road. Again, that's another thing to take with a grain of salt, because it's still a pretty bad team, and Brandon Miller's listed as out in this one. So it comes down to really if you want to trust Houston on the back-to-back or not. I don't mind it so far this season, 60% cover rate in back-to-back situations. They are a far better team, and we know how to kind of, look at games for this Charlotte team, right? Does the opposing team cover the 3-point line well? And if they do, then we should be able to kiss it goodbye. Charlotte, 8th most three-pointer attempts, 8th most points from 3 so far this season. Last 10 games, the 7th most attempts from above the break. Well, they're coming to Houston here. Houston's coming to them with the 2nd lowest points per game from 3 rating so far this year, and the 2nd lowest defensive efficiency rating overall. So I think Houston wins this one with defense. Give me Houston as well as a team total under for Charlotte. That may be a better look, because you already have the fact that Charlotte's going to play with a slow pace. They're the 30th ranked pace team in the last 10 games. So you already have that. Even if Houston is tired, has tired legs, on a back-to-back, yada, 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 I still like the idea of Charlotte playing slow. So yeah, team total under isn't a bad look for them in my mind. In one player prop spot that I'm considering, we can jump into the outlier screen. If you guys want access to this tool, 7-day free trial link in the description and the pinned comment. I like LaMelo Ball here, under 4.5 3-pointers made. Obviously, he's been crushing it this year. He's hit this in half of his games. At home, it looks even better, 55% of games for us. But head-to-head, you could see. So far, this year they have not played, right? We take this away head-to-head. Last 3 times against them, though, 2, 2, and 4. Now, he's obviously shooting a lot more. He has 6, 9, and 12. This season, he's pretty much attempting, whereas it's 13. So he's already attempting, on average, more than he has in those 3 games against Houston. But Houston, second fewest in terms of, like I said, 3-pointers made against the point guard position, top 10 as well. I don't mind this spot. Another sort of, not pivot for him, but a pivot on how to look at this game. Maybe targeting some of the perimeter players, the guys that like to shoot from the perimeter on Houston, because this is a decent Charlotte defense inside, okay? But when it comes to guarding the 3 ball, not all that much. So you could look at Van Fleet or Jalen Green or something like that. So that's another spot. I would probably still rank, I would say, LaMelo ahead of those guys. But right now, Van Fleet for over 2.5 3-pointers made at -110, not the worst spot in the world. The problem is that he hasn't hit that in a million games. Orlando. This team has the injury bug, and I feel bad, like I really do, because it's such a young team. They have a squad that was like looking like they were going to make something happen, right? Jalen Suggs questionable in this one. Franz Wagner listed as out. Ben Carroll listed as out. Gary Harris also questionable. And if you missed it, Mo Wagner, Franz's brother, out as well. I think he might be out for season. So this team just one after another, just catching blows on the chin. You got a healthy Celtics team here. Yes, they are in Orlando. So sure, you can make that what you will. But this Boston team should be able to win by 10 points. Right now we're sitting at -10. They are playing on Christmas. So if you want to think, okay, well in a couple days they might have a look ahead spot, whatever. Yeah, you can make that argument, but I really just don't. This is more, and I hate to do it, this is more like fading Orlando as of late than it is even backing the Celtics, who are my favorite team, but it's like, this Orlando team, man, I just don't know what to make of them. Now, this total is very funny, because I saw this and I immediately thought, okay, we're looking at an under, right? We've been targeting Celtics game unders with teams that play good perimeter defense. You're going to be hard-pressed to find a better perimeter defense this season than Orlando. They're the number 1 in terms of points allowed from 3, right? But this total's all the way down to 215. So now I'm sitting there being like, yeah, Orlando's going to play slow. Where are the points going to come from? But the Celtics, even with a good perimeter defense, they still should be able to put up somewhat of a respectable number, right? So I look at the Celtics team total over. I even consider the over overall. My one sort of like thing in the back of my head is, yeah, but where the points are going to come from Orlando, right? Like their starting lineup, say Suggs doesn't play. You got Caldwell Pope, De Silva, Carter Jr., Batatse. Like where are these consistent points are going to come? Where are they going to come from? Am I saying that way? Where are they going to come from? I don't even know. I feel like I've slurred that like 3 times. Where are the points going to come from is my biggest point. So I'm going to lean Celtics team total over, and that's about it. Celtics -10, don't mind it, but I think the team total over will get the job done as well. And then no major player props in this one. All right, Miami taking on Brooklyn here. This is a Miami team that has definitely had their ups and downs so far this season, right? In terms of how they've been playing, well, they looked like they were playing really well, and then all of a sudden, loss. And that last loss against the team we just talked about, Orlando, was a bad one. They were up by so many points, and then they scored less than 10 points. I forget the exact number. Less than 10 points in the fourth quarter, and Orlando comes back and wins that one 121-114. So that was kind of like, oh boy, this team's got to be in disarray, right? Jimmy Butler listed as questionable here. Brooklyn still dealing with all the same injuries pretty much that they have been dealing with. Looks like Finney Smith is actually listed as questionable. But overall, this is a spot in which I really don't want to back Miami. I'm scared to go and say, yeah, give me Brooklyn, right? But this Miami team, one, they just showed last game they have trouble closing. And 2, you're saying double-digit favorites? Now, that's not going to work for me. You have 2 teams that, even if they do, go all things according to plan, you have 2 teams that should play fairly slow, 213.5 total. You're going to give me double digits. I've seen some 10s out there. I'll take Brooklyn. Do I love the spot? No, but I am refusing to lay double digits with Miami. The only, and it's not even like an analytical way of thinking about it, the only thing that I would consider Miami in this game would be for them to come out hot and win the first quarter, just because they must be like, oh my God, we absolutely pissed down our own leg in that game against Orlando. So maybe, and now that I even say it out loud, maybe that starts to look a little bit better. But I think it's like Miami minus 3.5 in the first quarter. That seems like it's a little bit much to me, right? So that's the only way I'd consider Miami. You get a lower number, obviously, and at least they should come out kind of fired up after blowing that game last time. In terms of what we have from a total, yeah, I'm going to lean towards the under in this one. It's super, super low, but what have we seen out of Brooklyn lately that we'd love them to go out there and score a bunch of points? Nothing really, right? What have we seen out of Miami to go out there and score a bunch of points? Not all that much. So yeah, I'm going to lean towards the under 213.5. Player prop wise, the soft spots to target here would probably be anyone that shoots threes from Miami. So, we could be looking at someone like Tyler Hero or Duncan Robinson, that type of thing. We did cash that parlay with them before where Hero 2+ and Duncan Robinson 2+. If we can get good odds on that, that would be something that I'd consider, I guess, somewhat again here. All right, moving on, we have Atlanta at home here taking on Minnesota. Minnesota coming off of a couple tough losses. They get smacked by the Knicks in Karl Anthony Towns' return, and then they play the Warriors, and I like them in the Warriors game as well. They lose by 10, right? That being said, is this Hawks run over? This Hawks team was absolutely cruising. Now they've lost 4 of their last 5. I will say they've had quite a gauntlet, right? Denver, New York, Milwaukee, San Antonio, and Memphis. That's not the easiest of 5-game schedules. 3 of those games were on the road as well, but Atlanta's been kind of a 50-50 team no matter what. They're 7-7 on the road, 7-7 at home. So it is interesting to note that, maybe they aren't as hot as they were, right? Trae Young listed as a game time decision. I think that's going to be absolutely huge to keep an eye on, no kidding. Okongwu listed as out. Bogdanovic listed as a game time decision. So we want to keep an eye on Trae Young and Bogdanovic here in this spot. But if they play, I like the Hawks getting points at home. Do I think Minnesota could win this game? I do. I think Minnesota could win this one by 3 points, by 2 points, that type of thing. But I also think Atlanta has almost just as much of a shot to win it and keep it to that number, right? So if you're looking at this one saying, okay, well, you're telling me that this is somewhat of a 50-50 toss-up type of a game, I'm going to take the points, and I love the fact that taking the points is the home team. So, yeah, give me Atlanta here. And if you do like Minnesota, the one thing that you're going to love here is that Minnesota has been loving the 3 this year. And this total, is low at 221, and Atlanta stinks out loud at covering the 3, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I think both teams are going to be able to fit like a circle peg into a circle hole, like Atlanta likes to shoot at the rim, Minnesota hasn't been all that great at defending the rim, Minnesota likes to shoot from 3, Atlanta hasn't been all that great at guarding the 3, so I like an over 221.5 in this spot as well. If Minnesota really clamps down and says, okay, let's play some damn defense, yeah, they could alter this because they're a slow-paced team and they're a top 5 team in terms of defensive efficiency. But again, not necessarily in the paint, right? We've seen that struggle for them for a decent amount of the year. They're getting better at it, but this Atlanta team loves to shoot in the paint, and they've been scoring really, really well in the paint. So, yeah, I like an over as well as Atlanta. When it comes to player props, I would target exactly what I just said. I mean, I'd look at Minnesota, anyone that's shooting from 3, so you're thinking Anthony Edwards, then even Dante DiVincenzo. In fact, let's see what Dante DiVincenzo's line is at. We haven't looked at him this morning here, so maybe he's not even listed on here yet. Yeah, I guess not. So we're still waiting for his lines. But whatever DiVincenzo, that could be a good look. You look at Anthony Edwards, his 3-point line is going to be really high at 3.5, but he's still cashing it 60% of his last 10 games, 70% on the season, head-to-head against Atlanta. Well, this is last year, right? It's a different time with Anthony Edwards. They're allowing plenty of 3, so wouldn't be the worst spot. One player prop that I would look at on the Atlanta side of things might be considering Jalen Johnson kind of getting to the hoop against this. 18.5 points, I believe, is 19.5 now. You can still get it at 18.5 for -110, though. For him to be able to go out there and score, I like him getting to the hoop. You look at it last year, okay, that's when Minnesota was a lot better at defending the perimeter, defending the paint. But those are ways that I'd look. That Anthony Edwards 3.5, I thought we were going to see a 4.5 line, but the fact you can get 3.5 for decent-ish odds, I don't mind that. That might be a good look. But I think I like the over the more and more I talk about this. Hey, real quick, guys, before we do continue on with the slate, I wanted to shout out the merch we have here on the channel. If you guys do want to pick up some merch and get some great, you want to pick up some merch and support us at the same time is kind of what I was trying to say, head over to GuyBostonSports.com/store or FadeMe.store. They're the exact same site. They just both redirect to FadeMe. We have some awesome merch for sports bettors out there. Really good quality. Like, this is premium stuff. We don't not just take a logo and slap it on a hoodie or a t-shirt and say, hey, out the door, let's get some cash. It's not the most profitable part of the the business, but it's definitely one that takes a lot of my time and a lot of obviously the facility and warehouse time and whatnot too. So if you do want some quality merch and you want to get it for someone that likes to throw out picks in your life or you yourself, that type of thing, go ahead and check it out, guys. I'll put them in the merch bar as well. It's an easier way to get to the site, so I'll put a few of our featured products down there. You can just use it right on YouTube. They should be popping up, and they should be right at the top of like the description and whatnot if you want to go check it out. Again, head over there. All the holiday stuff is 25% off right now because we're past the time of guaranteeing that you get it by Christmas. So go check out some of the merch, guys. GuyBostonSports.com/store or fademe.store. And let's go ahead and jump back into these games now. All right, Toronto taking on New York. This total's at 227.5, and that's kind of where I started in this one. So obviously we liked Toronto to not score many points last game. They ended up scoring a decent amount of points, but they're in a similar situation here. Not as good of a defense, but this Knicks defense has definitely turned it around, and specifically their points in the paint and points at the rim defense has turned it around. So I like a Toronto team total under again. Am I going to have egg on my face taking the same thing 2 games in a row? Potentially, but I like the under in this game overall. I just don't know if the Knicks are just cruising right now. You know what I mean? Like the way the Knicks have been playing, it makes me a little weary to take them in anything in an under. 133 against Minnesota. They played, who did they play a couple days ago? The Pelicans. They didn't look all that great there, but that was just a low-paced game. This Knicks team, that game against Minnesota showed me that when they're locked in, they could put up 130. We've already seen them score, was it 145 against Denver? Like, yes, the Knicks will go like this and kind of come back down in this because they're not a fast-paced team, right? Not the fastest-paced team in the league, I should say. I think they're like 4th to last in terms of pace. But when they go, and they are a very good, efficient offense. Even though they don't play at a fast pace, second highest offensive efficiency so far this year. So that worries me a little bit in terms of taking an under, that they could just throw a wrench into that, which is why I think I just say, okay, screw it. Give me Toronto, their team total under. I'm going to go right back to the well. If this one doesn't cash, yeah, there might be a chance that Toronto's finding themselves on the DMB graveyard here because I don't want to lose that one by the hook 2 games in a row. But overall, I think that, New York could get the job done. I just also don't want to lay 14 points. This Toronto team loves to, get inside. And though the Knicks defense has been way better at that, it's like Toronto could get some easy buckets at some point, especially if the Knicks go to their bench and whatnot. It's like 14. That smells of a backdoor. It reeks of a backdoor cover. So I think the only thing I'd really look at here is Toronto's team total under or the full game under. I don't love that 14 number. When it comes to player props, though, I do have a couple that I like. I'm going to look at guys that like to shoot the 3. So you're looking at Brunson, Karl-Anthony Towns, but then Deuce McBride could also be a nice little spot here to target. And by the way, we didn't even talk about injuries in this one. Nothing major for New York, but we have RJ Barrett listed as probable and Jakob Poeltl listed as questionable. So those are obviously 2 ones to note. I think that if Toronto doesn't have RJ Barrett, it's even more of a reason to love an under spot, right? But Miles McBride, aka Deuce McBride here in this spot, could be a good look for 3-pointers made. It's 1.5 right now. He didn't have any threes in his last game here. Last time he played against Toronto, he had 2 3-pointers made. That was in early December. And then last year against them, now last year was last year, he had 9 threes on 14 attempts against them last year. I love this spot for him. He's hit this in 16 of 23 games so far this year, 6 of 9 when he is at home. And like I just mentioned, this is a Toronto team that is not all that great at defending the perimeter. Deuce McBride's shooting the 3rd most threes on this team in the last 10 games, just behind the 2 studs of Brunson and Towns. By the way, guys, if we're flying through some of these, I do apologize. I know, obviously, we have some games that we care more about, some that we don't. So just FYI, if you think we're moving at a great pace, then great. Block ears, you don't need to hear this. But if you do think we're flying, I do apologize for that. I think I'm talking fast. That's just me. When the lights go on, the camera gets going, my mouth goes, you know what I mean? I get all the comments all the time. Shut up. Slow down, just talk about the picks. But anyways, just wanted to let you know, I do recognize if we are moving fast, but we have a bunch of games to get to, and I don't want this video to be 3 hours for you guys, you know what I mean? Because that'd be a lot of editing. But let's go ahead and dive into this one. We got Chicago taking on Milwaukee here. This Chicago team did show a little bit of something, right, when they take down the Celtics, and then they kind of return right back to reality and getting smoked by the Celtics, but why wouldn't you assume that would happen, right? Now, Milwaukee's playing some good basketball. Their only loss over the last 6 games here is against Cleveland. They got smoked by Cleveland, but that was no Damian Lillard, and this is obviously just a really good Cavs team this year, so I'm kind of giving them credit for that one. But Damian Lillard is listed as doubtful in this one. Giannis is listed as questionable, not probable, but questionable. And Middleton's also listed as questionable. So you sit here and it's kind of like a lot of injuries on the Bucks side of things. And the fact that they're only 1.5-point favorites, it's almost telling me there's a chance Giannis doesn't play, you know? So yeah, I think he missed, he missed last game. He might not play in this one. If Giannis doesn't play, then I really do like the idea of Chicago in here kind of being able to keep the game close. It's just going to come down to, do we think 1.5 is enough, right? But either way, I think that if Giannis doesn't play, this line might move to more of a pick'em. So yeah, I guess I'll just roll with it. If Giannis doesn't play, I don't mind the idea of an under, of Chicago, but I also don't mind an under. You have Chicago, who should maintain the pace in this one. But, and this under is definitely Giannis needs to play because I want this interior defense. But you have Chicago, who loves to shoot in the paint. They also love to shoot from above the break. This Milwaukee team's been good defensively as of late, especially in the paint. So if we have no paint points from either squad here, right, like Milwaukee should be able to score in the paint to some degree because Chicago's not great at that. But if Chicago, who's going to control the pace, can't get those easy layups, I don't see this one getting up near the 240 mark, which it would need to, right? It's at 234.5. So yeah, I don't mind an under, but I honestly don't know if I touch it without Giannis playing in terms of that under. I wouldn't mind maybe looking at Chicago because I think that they could put up a good number if Giannis doesn't play, because then they should be able to up their points in the paint number a little bit, and obviously the perimeter play, they should be able to score fairly well as well. So yeah, it's kind of a confusing one. I hate the fact that we have a good matchup, but it's like Dame's out, Giannis might miss the game. Really two guys that this Bucks team truly hinges on. So that's what I have in this one. No need to spend too much more time on it. All right, Memphis taking on the Clips. The first thing I looked at here was a potential spot for an under. Now, it might be crazy to take a Memphis under as of right now, just because they're playing at such a fast pace and they're scoring the ball so efficiently. But this is a good Clippers defense, and they're really good at defending points in the paint, which is what we'll need against this Memphis team, right? They love to shoot in the paint and score in the paint. And the Clippers, also don't play the worst transition defense. So I think the Clippers work to slow this game down and whatnot. I don't know if I fully get to the Clippers +6, though. I think the Clippers doing their job would be causing an under 230 here. But I still think Memphis is just playing really good basketball, and they're beating some good teams. Like they've beaten, recently the Celtics. They beat they kept it close against the Mavericks, I should say. They beat Golden State. They beat the Hawks, who again, we're kind of in limbo whether or not the Hawks are playing good basketball or not. But this Memphis team, 8-2 over the last 10, 7-3 against the spread. Whereas the Clippers, yeah, they're playing some decent basketball, but it's not really at that level. And they're on the road here. Memphis has been really good at home so far this year. 75% of their damn games they've covered in. So I like Memphis still to win this one. I don't know if it's by 6 points, but I think I like the under as the Clippers contribute to this one in that way. So give me the under as well as, I guess, Memphis, but what did I start with? The under. That's clearly what I'm liking a little bit more. In terms of where I went in a player prop here, nothing truly jumps out to me. I do think that this is the type of game where if they do, so if Memphis does want to run away with it and whatnot, they're going to need to, no pun intended, but run, right? Because that's how you can get to this Clippers team. Ja Morant's sitting at, over 19.5 points for -145 on FanDuel right now. Other books, Caesars at -220, DraftKings -205. I don't mind that. Now, the Clippers are a decent defense, but he's going to be the guy that can get out there and run, right? Last time he played them, he had 19 points, and he shot 37% from the field. Like, he could play a little bit better than that, right? This season alone, in terms of his field goal percentage, he's shooting much better. It's at 45%. So him to score 20 points tonight, I don't mind. My one concern is if this game slows down, I think he kind of loses his superpower in a sense. But we've seen him have some bad games so far this year, right? He had 9 points, or I think it was like 8 points against Sacramento. He might have even ended up getting ejected from that game. Finished with his season high at 32 last game. Last game now against Golden State, he only had 9 points. So he's shown that he can bounce back so far this year. Might be a good spot to target Ja. OKC taking on Washington, not even a spot that I'm all that concerned with. 18 points is absolutely ludicrous. Even if you think that OKC is going to stomp them, 18 just too much for me to put bread on. You know what I mean? Like, I really just don't get that. I wouldn't mind an under, though. If OKC's blowing them out and whatnot, why would they play, their main guys and keep them in and that type of thing? So I'll lean towards an under, but that's all I'm considering in this one. No player props either. Now, that was a damn fast one to go through. I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of in the same boat with the Dallas game here. Dallas taking on Portland. We have Luka, who might be coming back. I don't know if it's worth him, coming back against Portland overall. But the reason I do like Dallas is because, and again, like, yes, it's 10 points. I'm still probably not going to lay that number, especially without Luka. But the reason I do like them is that this Portland team, isn't exactly all that great defensively. And even the thing that I've been saying about them, right, that, they can kind of win some paint games and whatnot, that's starting to deteriorate as well. So if Dallas can score from the perimeter and in the paint, there's no reason why Portland should be able to stick with them in this one. But 10 points is 10 points. Like, you look at this Dallas team, and it's like, yeah, they're really good. They're playing good defense, but they haven't always been blowing teams out, right? Like, they beat, I guess, the Warriors by 10 a few games back, so why wouldn't you think they can beat Trailblazers? I get it. Like I said, I like Dallas. I just don't know if I agree necessarily with that number. Now, the total sitting at 229. Maybe a Portland team total under could be the spot here. It's a Dallas team that isn't all that great at defending the paint, which is where Portland likes to score from, but they've been shooting a lot more threes, which that's where you're kind of playing right into Dallas's hand. So if the Portland Trailblazers keep trying to shoot from three, then I think Dallas can really, kind of trump them defensively. If they go to the paint, then yeah, it's probably not a great look. But like I said, guys, not exactly my favorite spot, to be completely honest. I say whatnot, and to be completely honest, so many times in videos, and it's like, duh, to be completely honest. Like, what if I was like, everything I didn't say completely honest for, it means that I was like kind of somewhat lying. It's like, obviously you're being completely honest. And then the whatnot, I just say whatnot like it's a filler word. I don't even know. I say it in whatnot, in whatnot. Let's move on here. But screw it. If you made it this far into the video, go ahead and comment whatnot. Shout out to everyone on the live streams that have been like, you say whatnot a lot. Didn't even notice that I did up until like 2 weeks ago, and now I can't get it out of my brain. So comment whatnot if you made it this far into the video. All right, this line has moved about 1.5 points. So yes, 5.5 in the graphic, but we've seen some 4s out there for Denver here. In terms of what we have from an injury report, nothing major. There is a decent amount going on the Phoenix side of things. No Devin Booker, no Allen, Bol out as well, and Gillespie listed as out. I'd say Devin Booker being the main one to note there. Phoenix, they haven't looked all that great, especially with the injuries. I mean, losing to Indiana, losing to Detroit a couple nights back as well. Denver is on a back-to-back here. They played New Orleans. They went to overtime. It's not exactly the best spot to target Denver. I wouldn't say that, but Denver so far in no-rest situations, they've covered in 75% of their games, so I give them a little bit of credit there. I just don't know if this team is going to want to, now 2 days before Christmas, they're playing this exact same matchup. Not this exact same matchup, excuse me. They're playing, is it this exact same matchup? Yeah, I'm not going crazy. They're playing the Suns on Christmas Day, right? Or Christmas night. So, yeah, I do think that this is a game in which it could just kind of fall flat. So I'm going to lean under, as these teams might be thinking about the exact same matchup on Christmas Day, because this is a Denver team that probably wants to slow things down because they're on a back-to-back, right? And I don't know how much I trust Phoenix offense overall without Devin Booker. Yes, Kevin Durant's more important, I would say, but Devin Booker's definitely the kind of the straw that stirs the drink night in and night out, depending on the night, I guess. So I'm going to lean under 232.5. Almost solely because these two teams are running it back in 2 days, and obviously the one in 2 days seems like it's a little bit more important, right? That's not crazy to think that way, is it? One spot that I wouldn't mind is anyone that scores in the paint for Denver, aka looking at Nikola Jokic. I think that he could have a very good game here. This is a Phoenix team that doesn't score all that well in the paint. Now, if you don't want to go Jokic and you think, okay, well, I got to go somewhere else, right? There could be a consideration for someone like Aaron Gordon. Right now, his line, in fact, if we look at the outlier screen here, let's see, Aaron Gordon, he's going to shoot a decent amount in the restricted area and in the paint as well, right? His line at 12.5, I don't necessarily hate it. 16 last time he played Phoenix. I just worry that he's going to get the field goal attempts, right? Look at this. Like, you can't guarantee that he's going to get those double digits, and I would like double-digit attempts in this type of a game. So that's worth noting, but that is the spot that I would try and target. From a spread perspective, the fact if this thing keeps moving down, I'll lean towards Denver. But like I said, I think both teams care more and more about the game coming up in a couple days. Golden State is taking on Indiana. This Golden State team, they did get that win against Memphis, but prior to that, they've really been struggling, right? 3 games out of their last 10, those have been the only wins. 2 of them have been against Minnesota, so it's almost like, yeah, that's good because Minnesota's a decent team, but maybe they just have Minnesota's numbered, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like they're beating a bunch of different teams. Indiana, on the other hand, looking good. Now, is it the hardest gauntlet that they've gone through? Chicago, Charlotte, Philadelphia, New Orleans, Phoenix, Sacramento in their last 6 games here. They've won 5 of them, and they've covered in 5 of them. Is that hard of a gauntlet? I wouldn't say so, not necessarily. And I do think that this Indiana team matches up well against this Golden State team. Golden State's going to shoot a decent amount of threes. Indiana has been very good at preventing threes so far this season. They've actually struggled at points in the paint, but Golden State has the ability to go and score in the paint as well. So yeah, I'm going to lean towards Golden State in this one, but it took a lot of, I'm not going to lie, like I looked for a while and still thought that there's a reason and sort of rationale to get to Indiana. So of course I did, though. I've been betting Indiana all year for whatever reason. But if you guys do, disagree with it, I'm not trying to talk you off of Indiana, but you have them now, on a back-to-back. They played against Sacramento. Now they're coming to Golden State. They're still on a road trip. It's like, I don't know if this is like this screams Indiana, From an injury perspective, the only thing that we're looking at on the Golden State side of things is Draymond Green being a game-time decision. To me, and Warriors fans will probably hate it, but Draymond's kind of past his, oh my God, he's out. He's going to absolutely change the game now. I put less and less stock into Draymond as I guess the games and years go on here for him. From a player prop, we'll get to a total in a second, but from a player prop perspective, we don't have the lines out right now because I think we're waiting to see if Draymond's going to get the go or not. But if he doesn't, I love who probably would fill in for him maybe. Jonathan Kuminga here, his over in points. I just don't know what we have yet. We don't have that available to us. And then we also do have Dennis Schroeder, who I don't mind him. I think that he's going to get in and get active. Now, he's only played, two games with this Memphis team. I like him to probably be able to score some points and dish the rock. He also likes to shoot in the paint, which is where to attack this Indiana team, but he can get into the paint and dish it too. So maybe like a points plus assist from him. I think his line's going to be fairly high, but I think Schroeder's going to be a really good addition to this team in terms of getting a lot of run and whatnot. Starting at shooting guard now, I don't mind that spot. Now, I said we'll get to a total, and I left it to the end because I don't love it either way. I think that this one's most likely an under because I mentioned Golden State, them being able to score in the paint. I think that that's how they're going to elect to try and score, which that means you're counting by twos, not threes. And I'm going to give their defense a lot of credit here. They are a very good defense. They should be able to shut down Indiana, who likes to score in the paint and that type of thing. So I like an under 231 as well. And I left it to the end saying that it wasn't my favorite spot. Now that I look at it, I think I like the under more than I just let on. So yeah, an under 231 actually could be a viable final play for me. All right, last game of the slate here. You got the Lake Show taking on Motor City here. LeBron and Anthony Davis both listed as game-time decisions. No Jackson Hayes, and then no Isaiah Stewart on the Detroit side of things, which is nothing necessarily new for these guys, right? Now, this line kind of surprised me, to be completely honest. This is a Lakers team that, I've said it multiple times this year, you only want to take them when they're at home. They've played so many road games. I think they've played like 7 road games out of the last 10. Now they're at home. They will be at home for this game, and then they travel to Golden State to play them. It's not the biggest of travel day, but it's still an away game, right? I love the Lakers in this spot. If LeBron and Anthony Davis play, like they got to make the most of these home games when they have them, because they have not had that many as of late. And they're also playing decent basketball. Last 5 games here, they've won 4 of them, beating Memphis, Sacramento twice, and then they also beat Portland. They only lost to Minnesota in that game, and it was a bad game, but I think that was without LeBron, right? So yeah, give me the Lakers here minus the 5.5 points. I think they make the most of their home games. We're looking at a total of 224. I think this one gets up and over that number. You look at how Detroit's offense has been looking, 3 games in a row, 125, 119, 135. That's great. The defense is even more over shouting. 125, 126, 124 in terms of points allowed. They've hit 8 overs in their last 10 games. Now, this is a Lakers team that's only hit 2 overs in their last 10 games. But I think that they should have a little bit easier a time scoring against this Detroit team than they have some of these other teams. Last time they played too, it was a low scoring, crappy game, 115-103 win for Detroit. But that was pretty much Anthony Davis's show, and then no one else really stepped up. And I think that was like a 30-point game, maybe a little bit less from Jaden Ivey. So I think that Cade Cunningham has a better game. I think that the more the stars show up, like LeBron has a better game and whatnot in this one overall. So I do like the over 224. When you look at this from what type player prop spot could we target? You can definitely target, anyone on Detroit that likes to shoot in the paint. That's not the strong suit for this Lakers team. So I might consider, taking a peek at Jalen Duren over in points, or maybe even a double-double from him. You always have the concern because it's like, well, damn. I mean, he is going up against Anthony freaking Davis, who's a menace. But last time they played in that game on 11-4, right? That was last time they played. Jalen Duren, 11 points, 14 rebounds. This is a plus 220 prop right now for him to get a double-double. That could be a strong consideration to take a peek at today for me. So, guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully, you guys did enjoy a long one here, but no NBA tomorrow. We got tons of football content out and coming out. Tons of NBA content coming out because of Christmas Day. Very, very excited. But I'll leave you with that, all right? We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.